Pant and Sarfraz, imperious with the bat, they put on 177 runs together. And for a while, India, favourites to pull off a win in a game where they were 30-1 against. But the wicket of Sarfraz Khan and then Rishabh Pant triggering a collapse. They lost their remaining 7 wickets for 52. They lost 6 for 29. Target now for New Zealand, 107. And when the bad light came, Latham and Conway ran from the field. Well, they didn't run, but they were pretty brisk. All set up for an explosive final. Morning, afternoon, evening, we just don't know. The weather, again, isn't looking too pretty, but there should surely be enough time left for either India to take 10 wickets or New Zealand to take the 107 runs they win. Plenty to come over the next 15 minutes or so. You're listening to Following On. Jarrod, brilliant day's cricket, one that just flipped on its head. We saw that yesterday, didn't we? It was bookended. India started well, New Zealand hit back in the middle session, India finished well. First day was all about New Zealand, really. Today was all about India up until that second new ball, and then it completely turned on its head in a manner that we just were not expecting. Not 7 wickets expecting, 3 or 4 maybe, 5, really? 6, get out of here. 7 bowled out. I don't believe it, but that's what's occurred.
Yeah, and I think we didn't know what the new ball would do, so I didn't think we'd get much sideways movement with the new ball, but what I did probably expect was maybe a little bit of inconsistent bounce. I thought if we're going to see anything that's going to affect India, it might just be that the ball runs along the ground. If you remember at one stage, Henry bowled a ball that bounced about at the 8-metre mark, and it should have bounced up to about 1.3 metres, and it went 32 centimetres. And I was like, well, this is what's going to cause some trouble. It caused absolutely no trouble. We never saw another ball like it. And instead, what we saw was Southee swinging the ball, Henry seaming the ball. They got a wicket when Sarfraz was trying to attack the new ball. Bit of a loose wicket now looking back. But India was still in control at that point. Then Rishabh Pant hits a 6 that is measured at 107 metres out of the stadium. And straight after that, they replaced the ball with an Incredible. I mean, it really was such a change. We saw that in the Ashes as well, when a ball was changed. And look, that we can't control the way that balls go, but that should have been an older ball. But we know without a fact that I think it was something like a 40% rise in seam movement after, and that wasn't a brand new ball. And that really caused a lot of the troubles. And then India had to try and counter-attack at that point, so they gave away a couple of wickets as well.
Where's Ricky Ponting in all this? Disgrace. Something should be done. Questions should be asked. Questions were asked of the umpires. 4 deliveries into New Zealand's second innings. Target 107. 2 balls zipped away. Rishabh Pant well enough and fit enough to hit 99. Not well enough or fit enough to keep behind the stumps. Jeremy Coney bristling. New Zealand should be 8 without loss after 4 balls. And then the light meters came out. India furious. Absolutely furious at the decision. But justified, because that's as dark as it's been in quite some time at a cricket match. And then within 5 or 10 minutes of the players making their way from the field, absolutely bucketing it down. Incredible test match. Who impressed you from the bowlers? Because once again, it was the seamers who New Zealand had to rely on.
I mean, no one impressed me with the first 80 overs.
No.
I thought O'Rourke, the pitch really seemed to help him. He got sideways movement. He banged it in. The one thing I noticed in this innings compared to the first innings, compared to the first 80 overs, was just he was consistent with his line. His length was still a little bit all over the place, but just consistent with his line. And so when the ball did anything, his deliveries were in a good position to be able to put pressure on the Indians, and he got wickets. And I do think Rishabh Pant's dismissal is quite interesting. We now know he's made more 90s than he has 100s. He tried to steal the 100 off the ball before when he hit the ball out to deep mid-wicket.
He did twice, actually. KL Rahul sent him back, didn't he? On 2 different occasions.
And he wasn't running very well between the wicket at all.
And in fairness to him, he clearly looked like... because I was listening to the conversation, Jeremy Coney was saying when he was in the 90s, is this guy going to field? Because he's well enough to hit 90 odd. He should keep wicket. I'm not sure if you heard. I actually shouted out. I think if he reaches 100, I think he retires hurt, because he was He was really struggling.
He barely got up the stairs when he went off. And I also think that we know that he struggles in the 90s, emotionally, I suppose, as much as anything. I just felt that the whole moment kind of got on top of him. And don't get me wrong, it was a great ball as well. It wasn't that he went out to a terrible ball or anything. O'Rourke came around the wicket, bowled it outside off stump, and it jagged back off the seam, bounced, then he ended up knocking it back onto his stumps. A little bit of bad luck for him as well. The ball could have gone anywhere. But I just felt that at that time, well, that's just opened it back up. I didn't think about 15 or 20 minutes later they'd be all out.
No, absolutely. 462. There were 408 for 3. There were 433 for 4. Bowled out for 462. Matt Henry was 99. He'd bowled 21, 22 overs. He was approaching a century. I think he might have even hit it without taking a wicket. He finished with figures of 3 for 102. William O'Rourke, 3 for 92. Southey didn't bowl as much as either of those two. Henry bowled 24 overs, by the way. 3 for 92 from William O'Rourke and 1 for 53 for Tim Southey. Spin accounted for the wicket of Virat Kohli and Rohit Sharma and Jaiswal. But that was yesterday. All the wickets that fell today were seam, and that's going to possibly be a little bit of a problem for New Zealand. But they'll worry about that in Pune. What they will be absolutely desperate is that they go to Pune 1-0 up, and they will never have a better chance to win a test match against India in India.
No, I think just before Ashwin went out, I was in the middle of sort of asking Dan and Jeremy about what they would feel comfortable as New Zealand fans. And I said 125, and Jeremy was like, I feel comfortable chasing that. I was wondering what he would have felt around 150, 175. That was the number that I was more thinking. They got to 150 or 175. I would have been very interested in this game from that point forward. They didn't even get to 125 in front, right? So, there's definitely a huge advantage to New Zealand here. Should be said that Bumrah was moving the ball sideways when he was bowling out there. The conditions certainly had completely stayed the same, and we expect it to be just as good to bowl tomorrow morning as well. But
do you think it'll be just as good as what we just saw? I mean, they look particularly dark. I mean,
the darkness it won't be, but I think that the juice from the wicket will still be there.
Is it a 106 or less all-out pitch?
I mean, no, but it wasn't a 46 all-out pitch either. If you get on a roll and you get a couple of... If Bumrah gets a couple of wickets, Ashwin comes on and gets a wicket or two, and they're, 40 for 4, even 60 for 4, I think they'd feel pretty confident, India, from then on in to be able to get it home. It could be a tie. Have you thought about that?
Of course. I never stopped thinking about whether a test match can be a tie. Second new ball was taken at 80 overs. The score 400 for 3. 21 for 1 with the new ball within the 6.3 overs. And in fairness, New Zealand could have picked up 3 wickets in an over.
Yeah.
The ball changed after that 6. India lost 6 for 37 and 13 overs. It's one of the mad things about cricket, isn't it? The replacement balls just do not match up with the ones that they are replacing. But then the second new ball isn't like the first new ball. You've got to welcome this stuff. It sometimes works for you, and sometimes it works against you.
It's one of the great unique selling points of Test cricket is that there is so much that cannot be replicated, and you just have to go with it. And sometimes you get a replacement ball. We've seen this before. We've seen teams clamour for a replacement ball, get a replacement ball, and it's 10 times worse than the out of shape one that they were using in the first place. And other times you clamour for a replacement ball and you get given like a snitch. Is it a snitch? Is that the Harry Potter thing that zips around everywhere?
I don't know. I've never
Golden
read or
snitch?
watched Harry Potter.
I know more about the snitch game. Is it Quidditch? I'm just making sure our producer nods. There's a thing in it
like
that
he's
zips
under
around
30.
everywhere.
Oh, and a producer as
We've
well.
got producers everywhere,
Ooh.
but some very angry children who've become producers
Men.
here. Well, they're men now, but they started as Harry Potter kids.
They started as children. Yeah, I mean, don't go anywhere. I mean, you can imagine people are going to be tuning in on talkSPORT 2 or SENZ or via the talkSPORT Cricket YouTube channel. Even now, especially because there is threat of rain tomorrow as well. So it's not like New Zealand can go to sleep tonight just thinking, right, we've got 90 overs, we've got all day, we just spend 20 overs, we'll see off that new ball, and then, we'll take advantage of that and blah, 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 blah. It could be that we only get 20 overs tomorrow and New Zealand have to get out there and try and hit those as quickly as possible, or, that it's an on-off affair, or who knows?
I also think we've seen the new balls on a couple of occasions just move a lot longer than we'd expect in these.
Yeah.
I don't know if you want to sit there. I don't know if you want to go as far as Monty, who was sending Glenn Phillips out to be the enforcer.
In fairness, Harmy was saying to do that, to send him up the order. I don't know if he said Phillips, but he did say that when New Zealand had bowled India out for 46. Didn't he say just send an opener out or just send a Glenn Phillips type just out there just to knock those runs off?
I don't know why we're talking about Glenn Phillips anyway. We all know that it should be Matt Henry. No, it has to be Matt Henry in that role. How much fun would that be if he came out? Danny Morrison wants to open the batting for New Zealand in a test match, in a chase.
How is it that we've been broadcasting for 4 days, 8 hours a day, and I'm only just finding out that Danny Morrison opened a test for New Zealand?
I think they were chasing 4 or something,
really?
And they reversed the batting order. But you can actually see that kind of tactic. You would only do that if you think the wicket is so torturous and the bowlers are so on top. But because they have Southey and Henry and Phillips down the order, maybe popping one of them up is not the end of the world.
It looked like the end of the world for India and in India.
And the weather.
Yeah, at the end of day 4. Join us on day 5 on talkSPORT 2, SENZ, talkSPORT Cricket YouTube channel. You've been following on. Subscribe, by the way, over on this cricket YouTube channel on talkSPORT. You can find this podcast on the talkSPORT app, wherever you get your podcast from. And we will be back tomorrow.
On AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.